Okay, it is now 4 after 7, or 4 after 6, excuse me. And I'd like to call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Have a seat. Okay. Okay, so, just for mayor's correspondence and comments, next week we have former trustee, David Mapes will be here to discuss issues with Chestnut Ave in front of the United Methodist Church, which basically boils down to drainage issues. Scott's already talked with them about some issues they've got related to that. I talked to them a number of years ago and they never got back to me about raising up their sidewalks and stuff, which is not an issue for us. But there's I think he's going to discuss the greater issue of poor drainage on the street there by the church. You want to add anything to that, Scott, while I'm talking about it?
Not really, other than I thought we had it all set to go in the spring with 3 ladies that I met. I can't remember all their names, but it was going to cost them, I think, $1,150, and we were going to do everything. Put drainage underneath the sidewalk, put a couple ZIs out in front, and replace all their sidewalks for $1,150. And I guess that's what he's questioning. So
I don't know all the details because he didn't give me any.
He doesn't feel.
they should pay $1,150.
But I guess you could say the Episcopal Church over here.
Behind everyone too.
Yeah.
Right? I mean.
Everybody gets charged. That's not a whole lot of money if you talk about it.
That's what I thought.
I paid a heck of a lot more of that for my driveway.
Yeah.
What did the church pay for the wall over here?
$12,500.
There you go.
And they needed it done. Yeah.
Okay. The other thing is, got a letter from the DOT saying they're going to go ahead and alter the speed up there on 256 like we requested. So
Very nice.
that'll probably take another year to get it actually in the works, but you know, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I suppose.
So where is that going to start on?
That will be, you know, you come down the hill, it says 45,
Yeah.
and then you get around that little, where the road curves a little bit, and it
Yeah.
suddenly becomes 30.
Okay.
Back up there, probably where the last 45 is, they'll probably put a warning sign for 30 mile an hour coming
Okay,
up.
that's what I say. Village speed limit 30 miles an
Yep.
hour. I'd love to get them slowed down long before they get to, a little bit before they get to Maury Ave.
I've watched a lot of people up there, and they do a fairly good job with it, but if you're not familiar with it, it catches you by surprise. No, people coming into town for the first time on that road. So, and they said there were a few other things they discovered were wrong with that up there too. So didn't get into the details on it, but they're going to look at those and correct them as well.
Is that the only entrance, that hill there, that road there?
That's the only one that has those kinds of problems. Yeah.
That was the one that we noticed one time. I brought it up that they put the signs up that when the first 30 sign is right at that corner.
Yeah.
Everyone speeds past the first 30 sign.
Well, if you don't know what's there, especially.
That's usually a warning sign.
Well, see, you got those new ones now that are the warning sign, but they have the speed limit in, so you know what's coming up on you. You got a little bit of distance to
Yeah.
get it corrected. So, they say sometime probably in the next year they'll get to it. And the other thing, I got a request from the town of Amherst, which is over by Buffalo, for a proclamation from us congratulating them on their 200th birthday. Just so you're aware of it, I'll go ahead and put one together. They gave me a sample of what they were looking for. It's nothing.
So they're searching people.
They're going around requesting proclamations of congratulations. It's not a big deal.
I get it, but boy, we're really searching there, aren't we?
We're reaching out to Livingston County all the way from the Buffalo area. Anyhow.
Okay.
And on the 19th of October, which was right after our last meeting, we had the downtown marketing meeting or hearing, whatever you want to call it, downstairs for the public to attend. That went very well. We had a good turnout. I guess there was 3 or 4 of them in the county. All of them went very well. We should be getting a report probably in another, well, probably by January, February time frame on that. Just a reminder that Saturday is Veterans Day. The office will be closed on Friday. Now, it's a holiday for all village employees. So, and following on with that, I won't be here on Monday because I'll be in Albany attending the NICOM Legislative Priorities Meeting.
I'm gonna make that a priority.
Yep. And just want to see what this is all about. Pay dues to it. So, and for those of you who've been around a while or know the family, on November 18th is a benefit day for Carrie Ann Wood at the Moose Club. There'll be activities, I think, from the afternoon on, isn't it, Megan? Yeah, most of the day.
There's like a basket raffle in the morning, like a casino
Yeah.
night at night.
So,
Be at the casino night.
Carrie Ann came by here along with Woody on Halloween night, and she looks pretty good, but you can tell it's taking its toll on her as far as, you know, her speech goes. But she's still working. Spunky. And let's see. On the 27th of October, the chief and Tammy and myself went to Rochester to attend the Department of Financial Services Vacant and Abandoned Properties presentation. It was so-so.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a bucket of fun.
Yeah, it was. Now, NICOM is going to have one. I got to look up the email. I suspect that might be a little better, but I'm trying to remember. I think it's going to be over in Batavia, the closest one. I can get back to anybody that might want to try to do that and compare the two. And last but not least, on their comments, the association dinner. It's the Village Boards Association dinner. It'll be on November 15th in Geneseo, and I think we have to have our reservations in by tomorrow, isn't it?
Yes.
So I encourage everybody to go if you can. That dinner, this guest speaker will be Baden Gajewski, I believe is his name, how he pronounces it. He's the director of the Conservancy there, the Genesee Valley Conservancy. They have a couple of properties and everything. He's going to give a presentation on that.
So that's on the 15th?
That's on the 15th.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a Wednesday.
Yeah, the social hour begins at 6. Dinner is a buffet. It starts at 7. That'll be at the Big Tree. And with that, we'll move along then to the department head committee reports. Legislative. Clerk Aldrich, do you have anything?
Everyone will notice in the share folder that we have our first set of records that we're requesting to destroy. Those have been in there for a little bit, so I'm sure you probably all looked at them. But we did do a resolution. I'm sure the village did it once before, but rather than going back in time and trying to find it, we did do, Jess actually did it for us, draft resolution to adopt the records retention schedule. I did also upload a copy of that. It's really long, but if you guys are up for it and want to do that at the regular meeting, that'll help us get some of the boxes off of the shelves. Downstairs will free up some more space for new boxes. I closed out of my webpage.
Anything else?
Yep, sorry, I closed out of my webpage. We did, I don't know if you wanted to mention this, Mayor, later on, maybe not right now, but we did have our audit findings interview today. Mayor Volk, Scott, Karen, and myself participated in that. So right now is just a verbal communication. In 2 to 3 months, they'll be back with something in writing, and then at that point, we'll have 90 days to prepare our corrective action plan. It was everything that we thought it was going to be, that we had all discussed before. They mentioned the amount of water produced versus billed, leaks in infrastructure. They talked about long-term financial planning and...
Segregation of duties.
Yep. little more checks and balances for that position,
Which we have on the general side, but we didn't have it on the water side.
right? So those were the 3 key points, unless you guys can think of something more, but it was everything that we expected, and that we had talked about in the beginning that we were hoping they would include in the report, so that way when we get ready to do some of the infrastructure, we have that to back us that it is a need, and we can share it with the public and all of that. But that won't actually, once the report comes out in 2 to 3 months, it's still gonna be another 3 months before it actually becomes
Yeah.
a public document. So that went well. I was pleased.
I think we were all very pleased with that. In fact, we just go over Megan's really hit all the highlights on it anyway. A lot of little details that the 4 of us need to work on. Probably the big immediate concern is, and again, that's in here as well, but getting a replacement on board for Karen. So, I know we've talked about it before, we have an individual who's interested in the position, but right now she hasn't passed the test, so that's an issue. So we need to get somebody on board as quickly as possible, so pick up some of that information that that corporate information that she has in her mind and everything, because that's, we don't have.
What is her possible end date?
It's March, right? 1st of March, or was she saying the end of March?
I don't know.
You know, one or the other. And basically, talking with the auditors today, it probably wouldn't be a bad thing to have somebody else in there anyway, just for the checks and balances. Whether it's Jess or someone else, I think the more you have. I mean, see, at one time they had more people down there, and they've whittled it away. There are different ways we can look at it. That's certainly something we need to discuss. Probably tonight isn't going to help us with that, but just so you're aware, this is going to be an important decision we're going to have to make here in that's a distant future, in fact, rather immediate future.
Yeah, is there a list of, I mean, is there a list of other people that are qualified, ready to go? They could,
I don't know, I guess we'd have to check with personnel,
I mean,
county.
because if it's a testable position, we should probably
It's a
start.
reoccurring exam.
Yeah, she's getting ready to take it again. Did she tell you when that was going to be? I know she signed up for it. She's been studying.
Yeah, she just told me on Monday that she's decided that she is going to try it. And she ordered a book to help her study. But I'm not sure
Yeah.
when the test is. I think she had to wait 4 months from the last time.
It's got to be past 4 months, I would think, by now, isn't it?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'll check with her tomorrow on that.
And then if not, let's check to see if there's a list out there of viable candidates. I mean, if it's testable, it's not like we can just go find somebody and
Yeah, I mean, you can, but then
they're gonna,
you know,
it's gonna be all based on whether they can pass that test.
Yep, and if they don't at the last minute, then you're tough out of luck.
So, I know that when Jess went to full-time, when we put the deputy clerk to full-time, it was gonna be because of training. Which leads us to believe if that position isn't going to be in training for that other position, what duties does that position have? Is there enough there to sustain full-time? Is there something, that, let's say Scott needs some help with something? I mean,
There's enough there, and I just say that the individual could certainly be used to, in this particular case, the one that's down there now, it could certainly be used in different positions. He already works 2 jobs anyway in the building. An hour or 2 hours a day over in the town.
and how many hours for us? 8?
Roughly that.
Do
yeah.
full-time employees?
She's full-time. She
Yeah.
works 40 hours a week, sometimes more for her ZBA meetings.
But, yeah.
There's
There's plenty of work for her. There's never been a lack of work. It's just over the years they've cut back, and that came out today. That's one of the reasons why we ended up getting in the position we're in, because at one time they had 3 people actually doing that, Karen's job, believe it or not.
Long before computers, probably when they used to pull cards and.
I don't think we need 3 people, but we certainly need to have probably a little bit more assistance down there. There's certainly somebody, that, even though we're in the PD, they've got hours over there for a clerk.
Well, the other thing, I mean, I don't know, is that something, Megan, you want to look at as to responsibilities and other tasks and all that type of stuff, so that we kind of have a clear-cut future of what, if that position's going to be, what their responsibilities would be? Is that something that the clerk would look into and
I
take
would
care
be
of?
happy to put something on
Mhm.
paper.
Yeah, that'd be great if we could.
Yeah. We'll keep them busy.
That way, there's, you know who's doing what, you know, and that's, I mean, you guys are probably still swamped down there, but.
Well, I think the office is in a heck of a lot better shape than it used to be when I first
Well,
came on
but
board.
unfortunately, we got someone who's gonna be heading out the door in 4 months.
I understand that.
That's-
And I'm not just talking about Karen's position, the whole office itself. I think the environment down there is much more positive and not as hectic. It's certainly not as chaotic as it used to be. In part due, well, I'm not gonna say any more about that. I'll leave it alone. Okay, what else you got?
So next week, we do have a public hearing for the 2015 Community Development Block Grant.
2 weeks.
Or not next week, 2 weeks, for the regular meeting. And that's just to give an update on how the project went. The public can come if they have any questions.
I'm sure they'll be really deep in here.
Yeah. They're just getting ready to start the last home that would be on that round, and then we'll work on closing the project out.
That's the one on Maury Ave, right? Matthew, yep.
Yeah.
Mhm. They're actually already started it.
So there was, they had signed a contract with one contractor. I'm not sure if you've gotten this update yet, Mayor Bo. They signed a contract with one contractor and that didn't work out. So we've had to do the paperwork for a second contractor. So it took a little bit longer to get in there. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you'll just also notice in the share folders, I don't believe that you are here for this, Mike, so you might have some questions on this. When we hire new police officers, the 2 of you will remember, they're automatically enrolled in 384D plan, but our union contract allows for 384E. So what we did last time, we had to open it up, is we did a limited enrollment period for 1 year, which saved the village money rather than having it continuously open all the time. So we just have to do that again.
Now, how does the contract read? We may offer, or it will?
Will,
Okay.
yep. So this is just standard, it's just something that needs to be done. So there's 2 options for resolutions in here. One is the board can choose to do the limited open enrollment, which is for 1 year. So once we get past that year, if we hire more officers, we would just want to make sure we open it again for a year. Or you could do continuous enrollment, which we don't have a lot of turnover here. So that would end up likely costing the village more money at the end of the day. But just making sure that there are, that there's always somebody that's gonna remember to do this for the officers. Because for those of us who had to work on correcting it last time, it was a lot of work, it was a lot of money. I don't know if you guys remember how many thousands of dollars it was because it was missed for so many years. The last officers that had been put on it were the chief and Jeff.
Yeah.
So there was just a lot of correcting involved in that. So that would be maybe a weakness of doing the enrollment for just 1 year, because if maybe in the future it could get.
Is there a
Pass by
checklist
it.
that we could make for like hiring of new people and just put that as part of the checklist? Almost like things to complete for all new employees, and just have that be on the checklist, so that then if someone's gonna have to sign off that was done, and then that would be something that would catch. Would that be something we could do?
Yep.
I know that we do that at the county
have a checklist,
level.
so we can add notes like that.
It might be worth putting in the employment manual, even though it's a union matter.
Well, and it's contractual, so you know, so whoever's doing the job, whoever's signing the folks up, you know, in charge of the follow through should know the contracts anyways. You should be reading them. That's kind of a checklist in itself a little bit, but we, you know, as you know, mistakes happen, and obviously it got missed before, so it could get missed again. But we can definitely add that. Yep.
Be a good place to maybe catch it.
So there's that, so you guys can look that over.
Yeah, I was wondering where that came from because I was reading that today. I'm like, I wonder what this is from.
Yep.
Yeah, and you have to actually request it from retirement, and it just even this week
Yeah.
for us. I think that's it.
Okay.
Is that something that we have to get create board resolution to open that or something?
Yes.
So that'll go on this coming, or 2 weeks and Tuesday that'll be on there?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okey-doke. See, other items, the volunteer firefighter cancer disability benefits mandate, that's also in the,
Share folder.
on the share folder. And there's an item in there as well, I think correct me if I'm wrong, is the easement in there?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I knew I looked at it today because I got it here.
I looked at the part where the easement, but then there was some discussion on whether that was going to be in the emails. There was some discussion on whether permanent or...
If you look at the bottom, it says, the wording is such that it's permanent, forever and a day. I think it says forever.
So wasn't the direction we wanted to go, correct? There was gonna be an out for us in case we needed to use that for something.
Yeah.
And my reply was...
Now, there is an out in there. We can give them 90 days and then bring it to an end. Otherwise, it just sort of stays put.
Okay, so, all right, so I guess I'm looking at it two different ways. So we still, if we want to develop that, we can still be out of it. Because I was under the understanding that what they were looking for was like, they didn't want us to be able to back out of it.
Well, that's how I read it, that we had 90 days notice.
Check into that.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Them are two different things. The length of it's fine with me, but as long as we have the ability to back out of it if we need to.
Maybe they just thought make it permanent easement so that, you know, you'd
We
have
wouldn't have
to
to
wait
keep,
5 years.
every 5 years had to redo the
Which is fine,
paperwork.
but I just want to make sure we get clarification on that, because that's two different,
Trying to remember
there
where.
are two different, so that's why I was like, well, I don't want to have a building held over our head for an easement. You know, I mean, village has been fine with or without, so. But permanent would be, that's, just make sure we're looking right.
Got an easement between. Let's see. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. In the event the village of Dansville has the need for the property, the village will have the right to extinguish the easement upon 90 days written notice to grantee and further, and it goes on there. So I would say that
Okay.
gives us an out if we need it.
All right, when the word permanent, I was thinking that.
Yeah, and then down below it says to have and hold the premises, this is for liability indemnification, granted unto the heirs, successors, and the signs of the grantee forever, and shall run with the land, so. I think we're in good shape as long as we have that one out.
Yep.
It just reduces the need for the paperwork. I can verify that before we vote on it and go with it. So, alrighty. Yeah, let's see. We've already talked before about the contract negotiations coming up. I'm sure the unions will touch base with us next month on those. And our letter for that, the 5th round of New York State Restore grants, this one on King's Daughter's home, our letter of intent was accepted, so now we're in the running. And now to do the actual application. There's still no really, I guess a week or two ago they were showing in a place too, that from what I understand, a person who's already had interest in it before, but Bill Bacon wasn't too sure that that was going to go anywhere this time either. So But the key is, if we can get this grant, is to get the building back up to usable shape. And let's see. Yep, go right ahead. The door should be unlocked. Well, I should say it should be ajar. The other item is the tree damage claim over on Park Ave. The insurance company that covered that for the victims over there, the Crileys, is subrogating the issue. In other words, they've paid off the claim apparently to their client, and now they're going to come to us and get the money from us, or so they think. It's called subrogation. So
Which tree was this?
back here a couple weeks ago, we had all that wind.
At 17
Yeah,
Park Ave?
yeah.
So why are they gonna come after us? That tree, I looked at it, doesn't look like it's on any state or any village.
Well, that will be the issue. Well, that tree was on our property. This isn't the one on the. This is Criley's
Riley's.
on the other side.
There's a large limb that went on, I think, 2 cars or 3 cars.
Oh,
Three,
okay.
all 3
I
cars.
suppose look at the one, because that one at 17 or whatever.
No, that was
We were all over
Criley's.
the place
That
day.
needs some, that looks like there's a widowmaker up there. That thing comes down and there's anyone in the area that could kill somebody. I
Yeah.
mean, whatever we gotta do for code on
He's
that.
called a couple times on that to me. Did he call you?
He came up here one day.
Did he?
Yeah. But the day he came up was about. Remember, I had gotten a hold of you about the power line.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, he called me again just a couple days ago. Asked how I made out. I said I talked to the chief, and
I'm trying to figure it out. Haven't just haven't had time to deal with it.
that's that bank you tried to get a hold of, right? Yeah.
Hopefully they shot. Or, right.
Is that the house that's foreclosed or something?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, you-
it's not, yeah, because
It's
we're
a
up,
mess.
we're up the street.
It used to
So we
belong to
had
the
crash.
Burnses. Used to be Lanny Burns' place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Lanny, Mary.
Any damage to the roof or something like that?
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah.
But that roof was in bad shape before.
Not getting any better.
'Cause a couple guys went down, and as soon as they turned around, the thing fell right off of it. Things
Well, that's what I worry about, because we walk up by there and I
Yeah.
look and I go, that's not in good shape.
Yeah. And let's see, so just so you're aware of that, we may be hearing more. And we got a request from a travel soccer team here to be put on our liability insurance. Now, we've done it in the past, but I'm questioning whether or not we should be doing it at all.
First and foremost, the insurance that was sent down there, because they've done it before for basketball and whatever,
Yeah.
was not accepted, because the bottom line of that is not covered for athletic activities. So I know that the basketball program had to go get their own separate,
Mm-hmm.
I think
And
softball
so-
had to do it too.
huh?
Didn't softball have to do it too when we were back in the days for the girls?
Well, that's for different down at the park. We ended up.
Yeah, this is for using the school property.
Um,
Mhm.
and again, it's probably not for the discussion for here, but if there's a program out there, I know the basketball paid for their own this year.
Mhm.
And to use the schools. So I think that if a program wants to use something, then there's 2 soccer programs. One's asking us, the other one got their own. I mean,
Mhm.
So for this one, I explained to him, because basketball had asked this year, does it cover bodily injuries? We said no, property damage.
Yep.
And, so they did whatever they did. So I explained it to this guy when he came in, just as a heads up, because the village has done it for a lot of years, but just as a heads up, it does not cover, because I didn't know if he was looking for the same thing. And he said, no, we have our own insurance for that. But he said the school is still telling us that we need to come here and get named on your liability insurance.
I think we.
That's what he said to me, and I talked with Dan Wenzel.
Mhm.
He doesn't really understand either why, if they're not having a game or practice on our property, but they're practicing at the school. He doesn't understand. He said it would be maybe more common that we would name them in case of property damage if they were using our facilities, but I thought they were using just the schools.
If it was-
So he was gonna check with NYMER and find out why a municipality would do this, because it's just been done for so many years.
I could see where the summer rec program would do that because we sponsor that.
Right.
But we don't sponsor these other teams. And I don't see why we would be
And
putting them
Summer
on our
Rec,
insurance then.
Summer Rec gets their own insurance
Yep.
also for everything.
But I say, other
They
than
do it
that, I
for
can't think
church.
of why we would be doing it.
So everyone's just a little bit stumped, so
Yeah.
he was gonna check with Nymer
Okay.
and find out why.
And I would venture to say that, I mean, if we're not doing it for anyone else, then why would we do it? I mean, if it doesn't cover, it doesn't cover, and it's not really the business of the village to get into them type of activities.
Mhm. I would agree. And I think you covered most everything else, so move on to public safety. Trustee Nagel.
What we got here tonight?
Tammy's sick.
Tammy's sick?
Yep.
Okay.
She's been on and off sick for over a week
She's in
now.
the fire department, I guess.
Okay. Got the reports out. They're hit and miss because we're still working on that program. Woody's been working on it, Brian Wood, but things with his wife, and then his mom got sick too, so it's kind of slowing down, so I did the best I could. In October, we had 31 calls. It was busy. Part of that was that night, going down left and right with the trees falling down and pumping and stuff. For a total for 2017, it's 228 so far we have. So we got this month and next month to go. The times, if you guys look at it, average time response, I just guesstimated for this month and left September open until I can get the reports in the system so I can calculate the right times on it, so you guys know. In the village, for a total for this year is 123. The town, 28. Town up in Steuben County, be 27. And then going from Sparta, West Sparta, 13, 12, and so forth, going in and out. So we're getting ready for the winter time. A lot of deer hits and going around. And that's about it with calls and everything. A couple months ago, I was informed by Senator Young's office there was a grant out there for capital improvements and stuff. And I put in for it, for the block building that's behind the firehouse. If you notice, we put a roof on it, put windows in it, and we've done concrete floor. We're going to use it for storage and training. Put it in, I got notified by her office that she secured a grant for us, which is going to help us pay for those windows, doors, the floor, materials to build the props for training, and the shelving and stuff for inside. So that's going to help out a lot. Hopefully we can do something with siding on it.
Nothing for a truck, huh?
No. So, this was a capital improvement grant from the Southern Tier Law Enforcement and Emergency Services.
Oh, that's
So
good.
that's gonna help out, make that look a little bit better over there. It looks better now with the roof on it compared to what it did. So, we're doing that.
What was the figure going then?
10,000 we got.
Thanks.
So that's gonna reimburse us with a lot of stuff that we put back in and do. And it'll go back to the fire department for training and get a lot of that stuff out of the truck house and use it for storage. We got the fire prevention stuff in there now. Speaking of fire prevention, I think it went well on Main Street this year. I think we might move the time up a little bit so we get a little bit more people because kids had practice and things going on. So I think we're gonna try and move it up. But who came seemed to enjoy it. Schools worked out, they were great, we had no problems with the schools. Only thing is the contests for the posters and essays were kind of low. Some of them we didn't even receive any from, so I sent things to the superintendent saying we're kind of disappointed on that. November 21st at 7 p.m. at the truck house, we're going to do the award ceremony for the 171,
November,
21st. So you're all welcome to come.
7 p.m.
Yep. We're doing the grand prize again, and I'll be picking up 4 bicycles for the kids.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be doing that again.
That's our board meeting night.
yep.
Trying to think, the radio system, still had the problems, they're still working on it. The county went with a new CAD system, so I guess there's problems with that, because we're not getting full messages on the phone. We
They're
get
getting
the-
better.
Huh?
They're getting better.
Yeah, we get the address, and then that's it, nothing else. But,
What do you
Ryan-
want?
Well, I mentioned it to Kevin in the Chiefs meeting, he goes, yep, I keep on saying it, nothing else has changed. I'm like, well, just making it noted about not having a thing working for us. So that's going on.
That's countywide though.
Yeah. Woody said it was something with the outside contractor trying to, with all the different suppliers that everybody has, that they're trying to get it in going. Greg sent Megan the specs to place the truck out for bid. And,
Did they get approved last?
Yes.
yeah, just for bids. not
Just go out to
purchase,
get the
just
bids
for
But you can give it on Mac.
That's where we are with that, and that's about it. Just a busy month between fire prevention and the calls that we had. That's it.
And the rain and the wind and everything probably didn't help, I think, too.
It,
A lot of cellar pumping, was there?
no, it was just maybe one, and that was about it.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was the trees coming down. And, by the time I got to one street, another person had to go someplace else, then we wound over at her house, and no comment there, we went on and off with that.
There was a lot of water came down in the shirt, or all that whole day.
Yeah, but whatever's being done with the drainage and everything, we really haven't had too much problems, thank God. So I don't know
That
what,
vac truck cleaning things out.
yeah, whatever he's doing, it's working.
Also,
Right
hundreds
now.
of thousands.
Yeah, I didn't even see it up that high in the creek bed. I mean, it's up, but it wasn't that bad.
Remember that, how you
So
saw it?
the wind came and it just took out a lot of trees, and the trees are old. They're dropping.
Yeah, predate me even.
We're getting rid
And
of
just so you know, my tree budget's empty too.
We're slowly getting rid of those old trees.
What, clean up?
Just this year, we just done so much tree work.
Send the chipper.
Chipper broke down.
Chipper broke down?
Oh, boy.
Brand new.
Pretty much. She's done a lot of chipping though.
That's it,
That's
Glenn?
what I have.
Go right over to Jerry then.
All right, the membership did approve the contract that we had discussed with the changes
Mm-hmm.
and percentages.
Have a good evening, Glenn.
Bye.
We are,
Were they pleasantly happy to hear the information that was provided?
yeah, for the most part, yeah. There was a few, and obviously you're gonna get a few that'll sit back there and grumble. But for the most part, I think everybody understood. So you give them the information, they can figure it out for themselves. So they're all good with that. I guess the only request I would have was would be what the end date would be on it. Do we want to go to like December 31st, 2018? Is that how you want
I
to
don't have
do
any
it?
problem with that. How about you?
Yeah, we're sure.
You got any problem, Mike?
Yes, your guys is,
That's-
Okay. All right, so.
You have a hard copy? Did we give you a hard copy on that?
I do not believe so.
I'll have to get one now.
Our DOH recertification is done and been approved, so we can be an ambulance company for 2 more years. So we got that all done. Megan, do you need a copy of it?
I do.
Okay, I will get that for you. I gotta double check with MedX to see if their fax went through.
Okay.
Because I faxed them a copy, if it went through. Let's see, we discussed previously doing some FedEx rate increases.
Mm-hmm.
Right here is the list. It's got our current rate. It's got the high and the low of the general area, because MedX cannot disclose whose rates are what. They can give us the range and stuff, the high and the low, and then also the average or mean rates. So, and just to refresh everybody's memory, all of the ALS calls, 225 of each one of those calls goes to Livingston County or Livonia. They do the same rate if they have to come in.
we don't have do we have a contract with Livonia?
Yeah.
When does that contract, because I know we wanted to discuss that when for the billing purposes, we wanted to discuss when we got paid.
Right,
When's that contract up so we can say that wants to be changed?
I would say January.
Because that's one thing that we talked about over the last couple of years is they should not get paid until we get paid. Because why should we pay them if we're not gonna get paid?
No,
Okay.
it's not
And so
like we're
that's
the
not,
ones.
that's not something that I'm in agreement with at all. We'd be more than happy to work it out with them, but the end result is they shouldn't get paid till we get paid on that call.
All right.
Now, if it's our neglect to fail and to produce a report to the insurance company or whatever, well, then I guess that's on our neglect. But if it's no neglect of ours,
Yeah,
we shouldn't pay until they shouldn't get paid till we get paid.
right.
And I wouldn't agree to any other contract outside of that. It's just not how the world works.
Okay.
Seems how they're real happy to hit the button and send them down here
Yeah.
every chance they can to get their
Yeah.
225. Well, the end result is then you get paid when we get paid.
Yeah, oh, just remember the dispatch is all per protocol.
And who sets that protocol?
That is actually a nationwide protocol that they use. So if it meets the criteria based off the information that the dispatcher receives from the caller.
Well, they're in the same business as we are.
Yeah,
So the end result is that has, in my book, is
Yeah.
absolutely ludicrous that they get paid without us getting paid. Because the villages, we can go get them and take them to the hospital too, with the crew on board.
yeah. And if ALS is not within a close range and the crew is ready to go, they will go without ALS. You hear cancellations all the time. So not every single one that ALS is dispatched to does ALS make it to the patient. So-
No, but when that contract comes up,
Okay,
I don't want someone to jump on that and go, oh yeah, here, let's sign another contract. Well, that needs to be addressed.
I will find a copy of it.
How often, where's that cancellation come into effect? Is if they get to the patient, or sometimes they get to the patient,
no,
and
actually-
they get turned around then?
It's up to the EMT on our rig.
Yeah.
If they get there and the patient seems stable
Okay.
and they don't need ALS, they'll cancel them. If they are ready to transport and maybe they are pretty serious, but it's one of these load and go situations, I was always told in EMT class, you do not wait for ALS. If you can get to the hospital before ALS can get here, go. So,
But the ALS gets to the patient, I mean.
they will,
That's why they got an ambulance
Yeah,
right here in Danville.
they will
Yeah.
evaluate. If most of them, if they don't think that they're really needed, they'll just sign them over to BLS
Okay.
and be on the way. And there is no bill for that.
What's the difference between these different ALS that you've got on? You've got ALS non-emergency, whichever.
ALS non-emergency, I don't think we've ever had one of those, and I can't think of a situation
They don't say it's always emergency.
that is,
They shouldn't be there.
yeah. So it's just
Having a baby in a car or something like that, I don't know.
well, the only thing I can think with an ALS non-emergency would be if we're doing a non-emergency transport, but they need to have a paramedic on board because of the medications that they've got. But I don't think we've ever done one of those.
Shouldn't we at least be charging the mean, the average?
I would think so.
ALS level 1 would be if they get on board and they start an IV. ALS level 2 is once they start dumping like the cardiac meds and any other things into it, it jumps up to a ALS 2. Specialty care, I think we've had one since I can remember, and I have no idea why that would be. That would almost be like one of the taking one of the NICU units. So that's not anything that we'd have. The ALS non-emergency is nothing that we'd have. And really, most of our stuff is either BLS emergency or ALS 1. That's the bulk of our stuff there. So, I I worked out some 2% increases. They range from $7.50 up to $18. My recommendation, I would just go $25 across the board, do a $20 to $25 increase on all of them. We're still gonna be way lower than most of the other places around. It shouldn't have any impact on the patients who don't pay, because they're still not gonna pay.
And most of this is insurance company pay, right?
Most of it's insurance.
Why wouldn't we
company
just
pay
go to the
anyways,
means?
so
The average.
that's up to you guys. That's my recommendation. And on the mileage, the Medis will pay up to $25 a mile without batting an eye.
How much?
$25 a mile on Medicaid and Medicare, which is probably 80% of our calls, believe it or not.
My thing is I don't think that anyone can bat an eyelash if you're saying, hey, I'm gonna go with the mean. I'm gonna go with the average of what everyone's charging.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be the lowest, we're not gonna be the highest, we're gonna be in the center. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, and, you know, that's up to you guys.
Well, no, not really, it's kinda up to you guys.
You're the
What do you
ones that
think?
have to sign the paper that says this is what we're gonna do, but if that's what you think, then I have no problem with that. I was just trying to be
I mean,
a little
2%.
conservative. 2% is what MADX recommends on a yearly basis.
But
2
when
to
you start out
3%.
so low, 2% will never get you where you need to be.
Correct. Correct. And those, and the ones that, like the Medis and stuff like that, if they pay at this rate here, you can bill them up here, but they pay at this rate here anyways.
And in the
then you
end,
got your
what's the
25
number right now that's out there that we have not even recovered for this year?
I have not pulled the last
It's a high
report.
number though, right?
It's up there pretty good. I think it was $85,000.
The people haven't paid?
Well, that has not been collected either because of the insurance company or because of co-pays, deductibles, or the patient not turning over the insurance check. that
Which
they
I still think
received.
them not turning over the insurance check is a criminal act.
Yeah.
It's not a civil act.
That's
Or they
fraud.
get the check and then they're supposed to turn it over to
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
has that been turned over to anybody to,
I have not gotten a current report. You know, we do have one in particular that has a history of that. And we've talked about it for a few years.
well, I would suggest that that's, look, I mean, my vote as a village board member is, because that's village money that an insurance company is paying out, that should be investigated and looked into, and if criminal, an arrest made.
I will request.
Because it's not like
report, yeah.
she did not pay the bill. Her insurance company sent her the check that was supposed to be turned over to the village and to take the money and spend it. That's fraud. Now, if someone just doesn't pay the bill and you're out, you're out. But this
Yeah.
is someone making money on going to the hospital.
Correct. Correct. So,
What would the hospital do?
yeah, they turn them over. So, yeah.
That's the direction I think my vote as a village board member would be.
Okay. I'll get a report from MADX on any of them that are outstanding, and the amounts and data service and
The ones that have been paid by the insurance companies are the ones we want to look at.
correct.
And if
it.
it was
Because
something-
they're like, they're using, they're using insurance companies.
You can make money, just call the ambulance, I'll get a ride down to the hospital, the insurance company's gonna send me a check and I'm gonna get myself $400 or $500.
Yeah.
Call once a week. No need to go to work, insurance company's gonna pay me.
They don't care. They don't care. They wouldn't bat an eye.
Yep.
When people don't have a conscience.
And so them are the people who, I'm sorry, you cannot do that. It's fraud. When the money's released by the insurance company, the destination should never go through the people, but if it does, there's a destination for that. And if they
Why
withhold the
is
money,
it-
they're withholding property.
I guess the
withholding money.
question is going through my mind, why is it going to the people? Why-
There's some insurance companies refuse to turn it over to a third party.
Okay.
They'll send it directly
Well-
to the insured.
No, if you participate, with that insurance. Now they'll pay you directly, but it's gonna be a lesser amount.
How much less? Because right now, we're a whole lot less.
Yeah.
We're at zero.
When you get nothing,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
But the problem is you might have 30 people that have that insurance, 29 of them play by the book, you get that full amount, it's just that one.
Well, I would
Now you wanna take a lesser amount from everybody?
venture to say if you find them people, and if they're in the village, you contact the chief, and if they're in the township, you either contact the state police or the sheriff's office, and you have it investigated, because the end result is the money was turned over, and,
Okay, I'll get the report.
sorry, I mean, it's a whole lot different than just not paying a
Yeah.
bill. You're withholding money of the village.
I'll get the report for you.
Perfect.
It's like you get a check in the mail and you need to pay the hospital out of that check because say you got in an accident and you get a check from the, no fault of what, and you get something from the insurance company. But your responsibility is to pay the hospital bills out of that. Had that opportunity happen that one time. And insurance company wouldn't pay the hospital, they paid me and I had to pay the insurance company, or pay the hospital. So it's the same thing here, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you withhold the money, the hospital's gonna come after you.
Right.
This would be a topic for the association meeting, something that would actually be interesting to hear what the other communities are doing, if they're doing anything or even have the same problem.
At that particular time, the hospital asked me, so the insurance company will be sending you a check, we expect X amount of dollars out of that check. I've gotten that call, or we got a letter from the hospital saying insurance company.
Yeah, because medics can find out when the check was sent.
And we want all that
And-
information on
and-
the people
and the
who
dollar
are not.
And the letters we send out indicate that that's what they're supposed to do, so it's not like they're ignorant of they're ignorant
Well,
of it.
there's no
They're
insurance.
ignoring it.
There's no
No, they
insurance
know
company's
what
gonna
they're
go, oh, you took a ride to the hospital, here, take $600.
Yeah. No, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They know what they're
911, I need an ambulance, please.
Oh,
I need some money.
I need, can you swing by the bank,
Please,
please?
don't get that out there, that'd be the next thing, boy.
Okay.
But I'm not against the means, I mean, the average.
No, I guess I'm in favor with Dan on that, of using the means on that.
And then next year, if we finally get to the means, then your 2% raises are gonna be adequate. But if you're $150 low on something, 2%, you raise yourself $18, you're 10, 15 years away from even getting back to an average.
You're gonna need to do a public hearing then, for the rate increases. I know you have in the past.
We should start setting these at the yearly meeting, you know?
Well, the rates we do, we had, well, did we the last time? I think we did.
No, I attempted to, but with
Oh,
The change of the guard at that
changing
time.
of the guard, it was a little much,
okay.
so.
Well, it's however the board wants to go. We can wait or we can do it now. It doesn't matter. You can change it whenever. I would say the earlier the better.
I say do it, set the,
Yeah.
set the public hearing or whatever.
And then we just reaffirm it when the year rolls around, that rate stays until at least another year.
Yeah,
I'll go ahead and get the change form printed off with the amount on it and be ready for you guys to sign it. and
Okay.
send it.
how about monthly reports, Megan? Have we gotten monthly reports at all? Or did you take that back to anybody and say,
Yeah, I
Okay.
do. Our executive meeting happens to fall next week. So I will once again reiterate to Mr. Johnson that these reports are required.
now, they're not an option.
Yeah, and I'm gonna go one better on my way out the door. I'm gonna check our bylaws to see if there's anything in there. And if there's nothing that says that it's part of their responsibility or they will be required to, I will submit a bylaw proposal to the ambulance company, so that way we don't have that issue going forward.
But I guess as a village, we can say that it is required to have it in every month, correct? I mean, it's been months, I mean, without seeing reports.
You can start withholding money.
I'm not against it. I mean, I'm saying, hey,
I can relay that, if that's what you want me to.
I'm in favor of it. I mean, it's just a monthly report.
Yeah, and I understand he's busy. I understand he's been working doubles and whatever else, but he's got people willing to help him, and
Did we ever figure out exactly which months we didn't have? We're talking like 4 months, aren't we?
I don't think we've had one since I've been here.
Yeah, I did look after the last meeting. Does April sound right, Jerry?
It's about right.
That's
probably
good.
about
I think
right.
it was
That's
April.
when I
think the last
started,
one
and I
we
haven't
received
seen
was
one.
March.
I guess it will say after this month, if we're not caught up with the reports, then the village will hold back money and will not be transferring any money on
just hold
until it's caught up. I don't think it's a monthly report.
Yeah. I will make sure that
I mean,
he
you
gets
could-
it.
We have a fiduciary responsibility here for the community. I mean, we're
Yeah.
setting these rates and everything. Well, we have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, we do, but we don't.
If you didn't come, we'd have no idea.
I know.
And
So,
this isn't against you, because hey, we don't have to see it. I would just need a
So,
report. He doesn't
yeah.
have to come. At least
Yeah.
forward a
Send a
report.
report with you, though.
yeah, and, because that would help me a lot.
Or even if he stopped in and talked, dropped the report off to Megan, she's gonna put it on her share folder so we can see
Sure,
the
so we
report.
can read it.
So, it may correct itself here with the elections.
Make correct itself long before the elections.
Yes, but we may have a permanent solution after that, so. There's a lot of interest in the operational officers' positions, there's a lot of competition. So, I think there's a lot.
I think when they find out that, well,
Change.
the money won't be flowing over here without a report.
Yeah, so, like I said, Monday is our executive committee meeting.
And the following Tuesday.
And
Yeah,
remember, you're contracted with us, so it's, you got, as far as I'm concerned, an obligation.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm gonna bring one over another.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Again, that's nothing personal towards you or anything.
No,
It's just-
no, not at all.
I
We just never had this problem before, not to this extent.
I know, and I've completely lost my patience, so.
well, we're there now. Because I bring it up every month.
Yeah.
Any reports, I mean,
No, and it's uncalled for, so,
almost disrespectful.
so, I will make sure you have the reports. I can tell you the coverage has been really good.
And
So,
we do appreciate that.
very
so.
pleased with our coverage. We've actually got a few more applications, so they have been,
How often is he in the office at the ambulance garage?
usually he's at the monthly meeting, he has missed a couple this year. And
Pretty
usually he is at our executive meeting.
He's not there during the week much at all, or anything like that?
Usually not.
What day's your executive meeting?
It will be next Monday. So the second Monday of each month is our executive meeting. 7 p.m. If you wish to come and
Soccer banquet
address
at
the
6.
executive committee.
I have a soccer banquet at 6, but I don't know how long that'll be.
So we're usually there for a little while. We go through all the officers' reports and stuff like that, so what's going on, trainings, and everything like that.
Those are kind of reports that we'd like to hear.
Yeah,
Okay.
So why don't we just take all those reports and ship them down here, and then we got them. Oh, we'll just go with what we
We
decided.
just need the regular reports, that's all I'm looking at. I mean,
yeah,
financial reports from them, to me, we're just looking for daily report, the regular reports. I mean,
Yeah.
just of how many calls you've taken, dropped, properly, we just never get that.
yeah.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Said
I
Jerry.
don't have anything else for me, so I'll head home and relax.
Okay.
So you won't be around on Tuesday of our regular meeting? I don't think you need to be, I guess, for that.
I don't know. I haven't started traveling to Horse Edge yet, but
Anyway, you're
it may be
invited.
soon. It may be soon. So, but,
Can you make sure at least someone has some sort of a knowledge, if no, from what happens out of the executive committee meeting?
Yeah.
I don't care if you call me and say,
Yeah.
hey, this is what happened.
yeah. So,
All right,
all right.
yep,
See you.
thank you.
See ya.
Jerry.
Hi.
Oh, we'll go to the chief of police.
Well, I'm looking down through the list of things we discussed last week, and I don't see anything earth-shattering on there. You got the report, we got no lack of business.
Where do we stand on Allen Street, Mr. Griffith's property?
Yeah, I'm carrying that summons around with me all the time. I actually had it in my own car all weekend, hoping I'd run across them. And so, it's just a matter of,
How long has it been now since, it's been quite a while.
just like last time. Remember the last time? We went months trying to locate him, and finally caught him mowing the grass there one day on the street, and finally was able to get him.
What about 47 Health Street?
I haven't given it a thought. I mean, I've given it a thought, but getting to learn anything more about it, learn anything more about it.
The house next to St. Mary's parking lot there,
37 Elizabeth Street.
what's up with that?
So the last I can tell you on that, Tracy bought it at the tax auction. I'm not sure how much you do or don't know, so some of this is probably old information, but Tracy Abbott bought it and at the tax auction. And I think his goal, the way he explained it to me, was in hopes of the Methodist Church or the St. Mary's are both joining forces to buy it and tear it down from it. Needless to say, that's a pretty hefty expense that neither one of the churches or even combined want to take that on. So now he finds himself with it. It's been deconverted many years ago to a single-family home. So he's started making some attempts to get in there, get people in there to at least clean it out. I'm not sure what his goal is in the long haul, but he's trying to get it cleaned out. And in the same process, he was cutting down some of the brush, if you will, around the building.
Right.
So with that, seeing what he had started, I went down and visited with him and looked to see what other things, for years and years and years, we've had complaints over the bushes along the fence between there and St. Mary's parking lot, that they're too big, they're unsightly. So I hit him up on, while you're doing this, what's the chances that you consider taking those down? He's like, well, I just, the difficulty was getting rid of them. So like other places in town, when people have bought these unkept buildings, if they get the stuff out to the street, we've provided a truck for them to load up, or we've gone and got the stuff off the side of the street for them to try to improve the community, the neighborhood. So he met us halfway on that. He piled a big pile out there, and Scott's guys cleaned it up. We went back down and gave him a little more coaching on how to put the piles in the right lengths and heights, because while they don't understand what they did, it caused difficulties on loading because, as Scott explained to me, you grab onto the pile on the end and the whole 25, 30 feet of it comes with it, because once they're all wedged and wound up. So he understands that now, and since he understands that, they haven't done any more work on the wood or on the trees or anything like that. I'm not sure why they've held off, and it doesn't look like they've done any more cleaning it out. His question to me now was, what's the chance of, how do we get rid of that fence? So I explained to him that that fence either belongs to him or it belongs to St. Mary's. Why doesn't he get a hold of St. Mary's and see if they can't put their heads together and come up with a way to get rid of the fence? As recently as yesterday, I saw Jim McMahon coming out of St. Mary's, so I asked him and told him what Tracy had told me about wanting to get rid of the fence. And Jim explains that they also would like to see the fence go, but the difficulty is they don't, and I guess there's some thoughts at St. Mary's that there's too many people walking through St. Mary's parking lot. And that removing the fence between that and the 37 Elizabeth Street would result in more people coming and going across the parking lot, and they would actually like to fence the whole parking lot off.
Used to be. It used to be.
It used to be, and I think the parking lot is cleaner now with the fences all gone than it ever was with the fences up. Fences just trap debris. And,
What's the concern about people walking across the parking lot?
yeah, I don't know.
And I can't see how that any more people are gonna come across that and already doing it because the house is sitting there.
Right. And I explained to him, which he didn't know, that the house is deconverted, so even if it was ever repaired, it would only be a single-family house, so you only have whatever family members were living there. You know, worst case scenario, only, you know, we're gonna have 5, 6, 7 more people maybe using the parking lot as a sidewalk. So I didn't quite understand that either, but, so as it stands right now, they've apparently talked about the fence, and they're not willing to remove the fence because they want some barrier between that and the house.
Can't blame them there.
So Tracy's not, and he believes that the fence does in fact belong to St. Mary's. So Tracy can't remove the fence because it belongs to St. Mary's. St. Mary's doesn't want to remove the fence because they perceive it as creating more walking opportunities. So that's where we stand on that little mess right now. So there has been some slight degree of improvement as far as knocking the vegetation down. So the only thing I can think of is probably what's going to occur is probably next spring, when the weather improves, Tammy will probably cite them for painting. Because, you know, now it's more visible, we can see what needs to be done. And we'll probably have to start that process of that exterior maintenance things, you know, and I'll get hold of Tracy and,
That's the problem, it takes so freaking long
yeah.
to do anything.
What about the logs out in front?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, I'll get hold of Tracy and talk to him about his logs, because we talked about it on the phone, and he's, you know, I guess that's firewood, which I appreciate, it probably is firewood, but we need to put it someplace other than the front yard.
Right.
But
I'm gonna say, if it's firewood, I'm assuming that there's no fireplace in that building.
there's no heat source in that building, well, there's no heat on in that building.
Yeah.
You know, I don't recall in my years.
We
going
just
through
don't see-
residential fireplace.
He needs to take that wood and take it wherever he's got his wood
I
stove.
guess the bottom line is, it's an eyesore to start
So
with.
we made some slight headway, because I was hoping that, he had told me he had plans for a guy coming in with a bucket truck, and they're gonna go right around the whole place and take all the trees off the roof of that house, as well as that would benefit the roof on Methodist Church. You know, so everybody, it would be a win-win, but, you know, and they went off the great guns, they were over there working like dogs for, I don't know, 2-3 weeks probably, and took down a ton of vegetation. And all of a sudden, as fast as it started, it quit.
Did they know when they bought it, it couldn't go back to a multiple person dwelling?
Tammy's always made sure that, and that's probably been probably 5 years now, that she's always ensured that when Tom Watt makes the announcements, they announce not only the tax issues, but they announce that it's been deconverted.
What kind of money is they talking as far as taking it over?
Well, if I remember, I was at the tax auction, if I remember right, I think he paid $28,000 for it. And I don't know what takes something that size down, 30,000 to take something that size down?
Oh, yeah, easy. I mean, you can do it for that easy.
The house?
Take the house down, yeah.
Yeah. Easy. The dumpsters are $600-700, probably 5 dumpsters.
So you think
That's about, I guess that's probably
think
what.
that's anything
It's
the
gotta be about
village be
3,000
interested
square
in?
foot house.
Yeah. They crunch up pretty fine.
Yeah.
Taking the house down?
Taking it over and, I don't know, make parking lot?
Well, we've already got one property up on Liberty Street we own that, of course, we haven't tried to sell it, but I don't think the neighbors wanna buy
By
it.
the creek?
Yep,
Yeah.
get a little reluctant to get into the landlord
I don't
business.
know. It takes a long time to get stuff cleaned up, you know, that's the problem. So you gotta sit there and look at it and send them tickets.
But I mean, I don't think that, I mean, he's gonna want recuperation of his $28,000. And then us spending, you know, let's say we spent $20,000 to buy it from him, take it over. 30,000, we got 50 grand invested into a piece of property that we couldn't get a nickel out of. You know, I mean, it's just, there's gonna be these properties that just pop up that,
Unfortunately, they're right there where you walk and see every day, and it's not like they're hidden back a hidden street somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
every street's somebody's neighborhood though. So I mean, whether it's on that street or on another side street, it's still somebody's neighborhood. You know, I mean, that one that might be tucked away on, and I'm just gonna, on Clay Street, someone still, that's their neighbor, that's
Oh,
what they look
I
at.
understand that.
So that one there,
That should come down.
the, you know, if St. Mary's wants to buy it, they could very well approach them, and then that wouldn't be an issue, because that would all be open land there for them, and more part, whatever they want, but my vote as a village wouldn't be to use village taxpayers' money to purchase. I know the only way we ended up with that property up there on,
Liberty.
Liberty was, it was like $1 or 100 or whatever, it was like,
Ended up costing
They-
$1,000 in the end.
yeah, well, but in the end, I know one of the village residents who said that he purchased to put a garage up on it, but
But it does give us, at least there we got an easement now, or basically we got the right to get into the creek. Do work on that, so that helped us out there.
Heard some guy, if you have station wagons, things like that, and decide you wanna use it for storage, like for storage,
Well,
one,
I guess one, yeah, you can have one. That
what
guy,
about if you have two of them?
we just talked about.
Two is
it
against
on-
the law.
What were we just talking about on Monday? If we're talking about the same place,
Just got reelected.
Him and I just talked about that on Monday, and I just told him, I just explained it to him again, that
I see you got tickets.
it's gotta be dealt with.
So you got an appearance ticket, I mean, what more can you do besides an appearance ticket?
There's nothing left, nothing, I mean,
And then once he's done with this, you can go over and issue another appearance ticket. And eventually, if he wants to pay storage to store it there, and it's $250 a month, feel free.
What's he doing? Why is he knows it's not right.
Because he's who he is. Maybe get special
Bushes are growing
dispensation.
right up around the house. I walked by it today because I heard word, somebody's gotta do something about that, because I had never paid attention to it because it wasn't in my neighborhood.
Well, he's got the same problem.
But
up
it's
on the-
somebody's neighborhood.
But it's Herm's neighborhood, so
Yeah.
go down and talk to Herm.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
yeah, so the
Herm doesn't have any issues with it. He says, oh, he's a good neighbor, but that's all he said.
Yeah. Well, we got the same problem up in the corner of Health and Pride. That's his property too, or at least part of the estate. And we've told him, I don't know how many times, those have got to be cut back to 3 feet.
But they're in the right of way, right, so,
Well,
it's stopping us from taking a chainsaw and having at it.
we can. Tammy, I told her to give him the 30 days, and then at the end of 30 days, we'll notify him what we're gonna do and be done with it.
She did.
Well, I guess you're aware of everything that I brought up.
Oh, all this stuff, whether it be 47 Health Street, or corner of Jefferson and Clara Barton, or 37 there, or 8 Livingston Boulevard, or the parking on Wyman Lane, or we could go, we got.
Have you started an official list?
They're all on the computer, I can tell you that. One of these days could probably print out, because, well, I don't have it with me. You got my report on there, right?
Yeah.
Look down through there where it says village ordinance, and see what the number is this year compared to last year.
So there's people that actually know what the law is and everything else, and they still, this have bothered me a little bit. Okay.
Other laws, 86 this year, 33 last year.
And what's the total for the year to date?
86 year-to-date 2017, under other law, correct?
Village ordinance is all the way down the bottom.
Oh, okay, I was looking.
Yeah.
Village ordinance is 251 this year, 130 all of last year.
Yeah, so, we're gonna double our involvement in village ordinances this year. Now, some of them are, there's there's some dogs and all that. But a good sum of that is more code enforcement, more working on all that stuff. And it's, every Monday morning, at 6 o'clock, from 6 to 8, I try, well, not 6 to 8, 6 to 7:15. 7:15, the buses start picking up kids. So at 7:15, we do bus stops and school zones, and we follow buses around for red light violations and things like that. So from 6, in a perfect world, you get out of here, by whatever the night guy explains to you and what you learn about from the weekend. You get out of here at 6, 6:15, 6:30, till 7:15. You spend that 45 minutes trying to hit as many of the streets as you can, looking for the couches, the cars, the refrigerators, tall grass, brush that's not supposed to be out, and so on and so forth, so, you know, we definitely got our fingers in a lot of that community quality of life stuff.
There is a couch down by Robin's place. Not his, I think it's his neighbor's.
And there could be, in the last two.
I just noticed it last
The
night.
last 2 Mondays, I've
Yeah.
gotten screwed on my opportunity to be out checking.
Yeah.
We were getting a little bogged down downstairs with a number of other lengthy issues that just won't stop. But,
Not Black's, but on the other, well, it wouldn't be Vogel, it would be up next to Vogel.
yeah, I don't, you know, to be honest with you.
I just noticed it
I
last
probably
night.
drive by it every day and don't even pay
Probably
any
don't even
attention.
notice it, I just happened to be walking by it. I'm pretty sure that was where I saw it
I
last
didn't see
night.
it.
Surprised what you see when you get out and walk.
I
Never
dug
see it
out
any
twice
other
this
time.
week, but
Never-
just another couch.
You're driving, you don't see the stuff a lot of the time.
So, yeah, so there's quite a laundry list of stuff. You know.
Along with the police department work.
Yeah, then you got real police work,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I don't know what the hell, I didn't, today there wasn't any rush yesterday to tell you about, but I don't know what, there was quite a laundry list of stuff over the weekend that cropped up, you know, and now that stuff doesn't go away, you know, just because you arrest people, you're far from done. I mean, I've got 3 or 4 people coming at 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to watch 2 different videos, you know, and it's gonna be, you know, so, you gotta make sure the videos work, so I'm gonna spend my 20 minutes, half an hour, making sure the machine's set up and in the courtroom, ready to go, and the videos work. And then, you know, people will start showing up at 2:30, wanting to go in and view the videos, and you're gonna set them all in a room together. Of course, some people aren't gonna wanna sit in a room together, they're not gonna wanna be in there with other people, so now do you make them sit in a room together and start that mess, or do you give them separate viewings, you know? And of course, they're gonna have questions, they're gonna try the case. And you're gonna have to politely explain to them how this isn't a trial, this isn't that environment, this is simply view and go. But you gotta do it in such a way that it doesn't generate
More problems.
more problems than it's worth. And, you know, I could go on and on. So it is just, in the last month has been a lot of that. You know, and tomorrow, if things go the way they should be, the way we hope them to go, we could find ourselves making a quick trip to Monroe County to drop the juvenile law, being done with it, or we could find ourselves going to Albany for a 10-hour round trip. You know, and
But
just
Shannon's not here to score that money, so now what do you do?
make some other poor person who doesn't want nothing to do with it take that trip, you know. So, yeah, so there's no lack of activity.
Okay.
I just have 2 things. One, and I know you did, the robbery that occurred uptown was something that kind of took and shook the village a little bit, to think that there was a guy who come into one of our local shops with a gun and robbed him. Not to put out there, but is that still heading somewhere, is done case or whatever? Because I get asked all the time about it, and I say, it's a Dansville PD case, so please talk with the chief, but I just want, as a village board member, it's a lot for one of our little shops on Main Street to get robbed.
Well, it's kind of like, who knows what year that was? Was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago? The guy got robbed and knocked out on Park Avenue in his house.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Mr. Eisman?
Yeah, you know, so, you know, like I explained to the mayor, you sit there within the hour after, you can sit there and take your breath for a minute and say, okay, what do we got? And you look at this and say, we got nothing. You know, what are you gonna do with this mess? And then over the next 2 to 3 weeks, the state police are grabbing our guy up in Amherst based on a whole, well, you know how it goes. Just you put the pieces together, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. On this particular situation, you know, and that thing for 3 weeks up from Park Avenue was every day, multiple times a day, some sort of conversation, phone call, activity being done with somebody to get that thing further, just a little bit farther, depending on what you picked up in the last hour, the night before, the weekend before. And this is the same thing, so I can tell you that since that occurred, there hasn't been a single day that hasn't had multiple meeting of the minds with this phone call and that text message and this piece of this going this place, and can get that from this person, and what do we need from that joint, and so it's going good. Again, it's going as good as something like that can be expected to go. But
Okay, so it's still being actively.
Oh, yeah, sadly, I'd like to get rid of that too.
Yeah, now, when I was doing an investigation, I went over to Hornell, and I was working on it was a funeral home smash and grabs. And I was surprised that the village, or I should say the city of Hornell, has a camera system within the city that actually monitors major intersections and whatnot. And I was able to use the city's owned camera system to become part of that investigation to solve crimes that were happening in nowheres in Hornell, but elsewheres, only through use of credit cards. So has there ever been any thought, talk, idea behind anything like that for our Main Street district and our areas like that?
It's been talked about.
So it's funny that I jinxed myself. The day that occurred, that afternoon, I came in and got from you the contact information for who you're using for the sewer plant, or the water plant.
Hurricane?
Water plant.
Wasn't that what it was? Doesn't seem like that was what it was. So Megan gives me the contact information for camera system that Scott's using to contact people for the water plant that afternoon, and then that night, that happened.
So
So the answer, I guess, is yes.
So community policing wise, and this is an initiative that I have been throwing around up north a little bit, is that there's a lot of people within our village that probably have camera systems, but we just don't know who they are. And I don't know, through, community policing, or, if we somehow get it out there, that anybody who has one that would be willing to know, it would be great to have a map to kind of lay out to say, on this street, we know we have 4 camera systems. On this street, there may be none. Do we have an active list, even up and down Main Street, or of who has them, who doesn't? Or even talking to store owners and saying, because I did talk with that one store owner, and she said, I have one, it's in the box.
There's a couple of those.
And it probably is up, maybe it's up by now. And I'm even looking into putting one at my residence. So I don't know, it's just a thought process through, some sort of a thing where you put out there, if you have one and you'd like to be put on some sort of watch system in case something happens on a street, you can go back to them cameras. Because maybe even like a citywide camera system isn't necessary if we know where the strategic cameras are. You know what I'm saying?
Privately owned camera.
Privately owned camera systems. I know that for $469 you can buy an 8-headed camera that gives you, for each camera, gives you 60 foot of cable that has the power in it. So you don't have to have a power source. It's from that thing for home monitoring. And it gives you up to 150 foot in darkness, infrared, at nighttime. Hard to get faces on great at night, but at least gives you, one of our officers had a situation in his home and found out that someone had been in his vehicle, went back in, checked his camera system, located that 2 people had gone into his vehicle the night before, and then people were subsequently arrested for, would they steal something, new pair of sneakers, new pair of boots, or something to that effect. So they're out there, if you just know where they're at. There's probably more than what we
Yeah.
we
I'm sure
know.
there's probably more. We know, we have a pretty good handle on the ones, commercial ones,
But
as far as private.
it's just a
ones go.
thought. I was very amazed to be able to go to the PD over there and sit down and go, this is a city, he's like, it's not citywide, he goes, but we got some of our areas where we have most of our problems, and up and down through our business district. I don't know what the cost would be, but I know that I'm sure the business districts would say, hey, let's, maybe they'd kick in, help out, do something, but just a thought process that I was having that.
Yep, that day I grabbed the contact people from Megan, and that night that coincidentally occurred.
You can always use them too for running red lights and everything else,
Well, you're looking more for public safety.
I understand that, yeah.
But, red lights is moneymaker, let's not go there, with the the city actually whatever. And the last thing was on your report. I didn't get a monthly report. We wanted a regular monthly report on the DWI spending of that
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, I haven't had 5 minutes to put that all down, you know. Yeah. That is on my list here of to do someplace,
Okay, maybe we can get something before
on my previous list.
2 Tuesdays or the next meeting or something. Just other than that.
That's it.
All right, budget, finance, and audit. We already went over the state audit. Where do we stand on the annual audit? Do we know where they are in the process right now?
They're done with me, so, yeah, thank goodness. So we're just waiting, I guess, on the report. I did email Laura today asking her, because I'm working on budget, so I wanted to know what the fee's gonna be for fiscal year on 2018 audit. And I haven't heard back on that, and I haven't heard anything on our report.
Okay. Not a big deal, just curious where we stood and asked you today.
Yeah. And financials will be on here tomorrow on the share folder, and we will have a few budget modifications as well for the regular meeting.
Okay. And just for the department heads, which 2 other than Megan, get your stuff in before the 20th for your budget proposals. And then we can start working on that, as if you haven't got anything else to do. And I guess move along to Public Works. Scott, what do you got?
Well, in your share folder, Megan put a couple items in. It's on the bridge on Clay Street, or, yeah,
Seward,
Sword.
Seward and Clay.
So basically, they take a core of the bridge. The center of the bridge, it's really hard to get down inside there and really take a good look at it. You can get in there and look, but. So they take a core sample and then say it'll last another 50 years or 100 years or whatever. The ends of the bridge are gone. That's got to be dealt with. But if we didn't have to replace the whole bridge, it would be nice. So I don't know, I mean, it's a couple grand to do that test. Is it worth it? I don't know. I mean, I would say it's probably worth it, at least we know, for sure.
Have we done that kind of thing before?
Yeah. It was recommended by MRB.
I would think that all those bridges probably went in about the same time, so if you did the core sample on one, you'd have a hit on all of them.
Right. And I think that it's gonna show a lot of salt that's in the concrete, which is bad.
I want to say that they went in, because I remember seeing a plaque on one once.
Yeah, there is down on William Street.
Yeah, I think that was part of the Depression era
Yep.
construction work.
Yep,
So you're looking in the 1930s.
yep.
And I knew they were there. I know they were there when I was a kid. So
Been there since the 70s.
yeah,
But that one's been added on both ends.
yeah.
Both ends are shot. The original structure, kind of sound actually. But how sound, we don't know until you.
Do most of them have pipe inside them, or are they built around a big conduit or sluice or anything like
Did
that?
you see the photos of it?
Most
It's just
of,
like a big box.
yeah. I have never seen a pipe inside one of them.
No, the original ones there, not the new ones, the original ones that you're talking about.
Yeah.
I would have thought they might be like.
We used to play under the one over on Van Campen all the time.
Build around sluice pipe, I thought maybe that's what they were.
We used to take our sleds down the bank and underneath it right out the other end.
We always
No,
do
these are
everything
just
too.
a-
Like,
they're
right down in
board.
that neighborhood.
They're poured?
Poured
Yeah.
sides and the top. Yep.
So there's 8 bridges,
Pardon?
8 bridges altogether,
Yeah.
and you divide it by two grand, that's pretty cheap experiment per bridge. Just a different way of looking at it.
I'd love to see what the underside of the rest, have someone go in there and photograph the rest of them. I mean, we got good photographs on there of that one, but as I said to the mayor, I'm like, love to see what the other ones look like, because you know what, I mean, like you say, they're coming from that era. The boxes, you can see the boxes, they're just corroding right away.
The one up on Park Ave, it looks like icicles hanging down all the way through it.
Don't have calcium dripping out of it. Yeah.
Bad.
Crumbling.
It's not crumbling.
No,
But
Just
it's
the
down.
ends.
Just, they're cracked and stuff like that, over time they get that way. They've
I mean, that one down there is bad.
Yeah.
On the end, it's very bad.
So is that what appears to need to be fixed, is the ends?
Both ends are bad. Basically what they did is they took railroad irons, put them across, and then put some corrugated steel on and poured on top of that. And it's just, it really wasn't a good job when they did it.
But it's lasted all these years.
Yeah.
Well, then the heads aren't even,
But the one on the south side, that's bad. It's got a big hole in it.
you take like $16,000, and then we know what we got, right?
it wouldn't even be that.
No,
They do-
$1,700 is what the lowest.
Well, the one on, you're not include, did you include Pine Street on that 8?
No, that would be number 9. And
Okay,
if you're curious-
because, well, that's already taken care
That's
of.
already taken care of,
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, I'm not saying core sample all of them, I'm saying if you core sampled one,
You're gonna
you
know what
probably
the other
get a
ones.
hint on the rest of them. So when you divide that out, $1,700, it's $200, $220 a bridge on average
Oh,
then.
okay.
You know what I'm saying? If you did one core sample on one bridge, it'd give you a hint on all of them. So that's-
And then you get out and you photograph the rest to kind of put together and say, okay, they all look kind of the same, but this is a core sample from one.
That's a heavily traveled street, Seward is.
Yes, it is. This is about like Park Ave.
Yeah.
Now, those numbers that were in there, there's 3 different ways to go. That's with us doing the work, or is that with somebody else coming in and doing the work?
No, I think it was us doing the work. Yes, it was us doing the work.
That's just material and.
Yeah, if you want to triple that.
That's why, when I seen them, I'm like, whoa, them are not as bad as what I was
But it's
anticipating.
us doing all the work.
You know how long that would take to do?
That street wouldn't take long at all to do if we put the box inside, you know, it was about 100 grand for the box, I think. I don't have that section of the rigging. Yes, I do. I can give it to Mike so you can look at the
The
pictures.
expensive was 113.
Did you see the pictures, Mike? Have you got it?
It's right there on the
some
share
real-
folder.
Here's some good pictures.
And it's on the share folder?
Yes.
Pictures are?
Seward Street Bridge, just go all the way to the
I
end.
just opened it up.
Click on it, and then just go all the way to the end, there's pictures.
Here. Forget that thing. Go with page. No, at least you can, are they pretty good on your share folder to see the pictures, Megan?
Yeah.
If you zoom in,
Pretty good.
yeah.
I'm on the bottom of it here, Megan.
Maybe you're in the wrong document, Scott gave me a few to put on there.
It takes a minute for it to load.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
113,000
There were a
Danny
couple
would
of
be a
them that
box
started
culvert.
out the same on the title. Maybe it's that one, I don't know.
Option one was 88,000.
There, there. Oh, yeah.
You want the one from MRV.
But then you gotta like turn it and zoom in,
Yeah,
you know,
I got them right here now.
yeah.
MRB wants to take, you know how it's covered down by Montezor's end?
Open that up a
He
little.
wants to
This is
open it
where
all
we
up.
just got that
I kinda like
easement to
covered,
go up
so
through here.
I think it makes that intersection nice, you don't have big
Because
wide open
you're gonna have
ditch.
to redo, doing them photos, you're gonna have to redo that sidewalk,
know.
to kind of come around it, or do you put a bridge, or what do you do?
Yeah,
I like the box culvert myself and cover it up just like it is now. That's why
God,
they
that's where
extended it,
you
somebody
have
did
that-
that for a reason, you know.
That's where you got that easement to go up through there, through the creek right there, didn't you?
I don't have an easement for that section, no.
I thought that, when you and
I've been trying to get that one for Bucky's and I can't get us,
you and I rode around that one.
Now, which one's that? Is that the, where Hall's on?
No, that's down farther. It's a
Oh,
green,
okay.
no greenhouse.
they're gonna close on, or
Foreclose.
say, yeah, and Bucky again, so foreclose, whatever, I don't know how you foreclose on that one, whatever. It's already been foreclosed on once, but whatever.
How much of that 113, I mean, if that's a major project, how much of that is even pullable from a budget?
That's the problem, and we keep adding all this stuff on throughout the year. I mean, this stuff comes up. You know, I went through all those bridges when I first started, and I crawled through all of them. And, you know, this one's really deteriorated a lot since I crawled through them. But, you know, every month we're adding something to the budget. I mean, my budget can't, you know, can only handle so much. It's getting stressed out this year pretty good. So that's why, another 17 here, another 17 there, it all adds up. Yeah, this is a great thing to do.
But sooner or later, I don't have a line item to take it from. That's my problem. I mean, 1,700, yes, we can definitely do that. But as far as the reconstruction, I mean, at least we would, well, I don't know how long it takes to get the test results back. I don't think very long. They do a break
What's that
test.
gonna tell us?
It'll just tell us whether we can save the main structure of the bridge. It'll probably save us, I don't know, 30, 40 grand or whatever.
On one bridge.
Just one bridge, right?
Is there any way the state would give us information from when they did Pine Street as to what their, would they give us whatever information they had on doing the bridge on Pine Street?
Cost-wise?
No, as to what the condition of it was when they
Oh.
might take an act of God at the time.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible.
They probably just came in and crushed it up and said,
Yeah, they,
You
it
shoot
was,
this thing-
it was an issue, and they were redoing the street,
so
so
that
they
you shoot it all the way down past Bovie's and
Yeah, they probably didn't really
And
take.
there's a good picture of it there. That's
that's what would be nice if we could do
Boilerplate.
what they did, right up through the village. The U-Box is a great way to go. It's expensive, very expensive.
we got block down there.
Just no time to get in.
Is that all the block to do what we need done, or?
The block's paid for, and actually, they've called me a couple times. They've been really busy with Lake Ontario, because that was my fear that we wouldn't be able to get any blocks. So our blocks are sitting there, and right now they're about out of block from the way he started. He said they're just sucking them block up left and right, in Lake Ontario. So, and I talked to the DEC about amending our permit, and he said, see us in 6 months because everything is Lake Ontario. So, long story short, I want to do that. I was hoping to be on it, but we're just trying to finish up on Highland Ave. What's his name? Maloney? What's his first name?
Elby.
Elby Maloney's house, walked by, and there's a big hole in his driveway. The sluice plate was gone. I mean, there was no bottom, there was nothing left to it. So I've always wanted to fill that in down through there, so the last couple of days we filled that all in, piped it, and took care of his driveway.
That's it.
And now we're down at the brewery. Today we're at the brewery all day. We'll be there probably 2 more days, time we're finished.
Is it Battle Brewery, Battle Street?
Battle Street Brewery, I'm putting this water and sewer in. We got tied into today in Franklin Street, so that's done. The hard part's over. So, and then leaves are coming fast and furious. I mean, they're way behind.
Especially after last night.
Yeah, they're falling, next week will be full bore, but, we're halfway through leaf season by now. We're gonna be in trouble, big trouble. So I was hoping I could take a couple guys and we could go over and start on that. But the way, we've gotta get the leaves done. Even if I have to go out with loaders and dump trucks to help pick them up, we've gotta get them done, because we cannot wait till, we'll be in the middle of December. If you get snow and ice on them, what a mess you have. That's not good. So, I thought I'd be over there right now, actually putting those block in, but I can see, we're 2-3 weeks out to getting over there. Hence, there's an excavator sitting here, so, the FEMA's done paying for it. That project's done for now. So, there we go again. I can't get to it. Got an expensive excavator sitting here. What do? Send it back? That's the problem with that. That's how we got into that conversation before. I didn't really want to get into it tonight, but that's my problem. There's just always things that pop up. So when I do get to that and I want to do the job, now the machine's gone. So we don't have a full board, so I really didn't want to get into it tonight because I think it's a full board decision, but we have to make that decision. It's an expensive machine just setting here, and you're paying around by the month. And I can't handle a whole lot of that in my budget. And I don't want to do that, because I don't think it's right to the taxpayer to have a machine setting that you're not using. But, again, it's $1,000 to ship the thing back and forth, too. So, I guess we have to figure out, do we just want to bid that stuff out and have somebody do it? Or get the equipment to do it with? That's kind of the way I look at it, because to try to get that machine here and do the job, yeah, I can do that, but, it's going to be in and out, in and out, in and out. And I'm not against that at
That
all.
machine is gonna have to be used on Seward Street if we did that.
It's going to be used on everything that you guys want to do in the creek. I mean, that's just, I gave you a list. I was hoping I could do, if this winter's not too bad, there's some things I'd like to do with it this winter.
We're getting a little off track here a little bit. Excavator's a separate discussion.
Yep, with a full board. But we need to have the discussion, because right now, I think, the way I see my workload and leaves and everything, I probably should send it back. That's,
Economically, though, it doesn't make sense to send it back.
What if you bought it and sold it? Got your money back.
Well,
and
you
started
will. We
fresh.
got a guarantee right now from the auction for 160 next summer, right? And if we pay 190 something and the money that was for rent comes off from it, right? Brings us down to below that area, right?
I mean, I can do the numbers on that. I mean, we just paid another month's rent. I'll have to look at that all up now to see. I think it's been 4 months. Don't quote me on that. I'd have to pull the records and see. I mean, I'll get the numbers back around, but I was under the impression we really didn't want to go down that road, so, from way board members and the mayor. And I'm not, it's up to you guys. I'm saying, me as a taxpayer sitting here, I think it's the most foolish thing we could do is to send it back. Because we have the work to do. If I can have a machine and it costs me 30 grand, I can keep it a couple years, and it's here when I want to use it, I don't know. Good business in life.
How did we get off that, anyway? How did we get off that topic anyway? Why did we set that on the back burner? I thought
Just never had really a full board, I don't think. We were gonna have a special meeting, but we never did.
I got your information there, and Alex Ryan, son,
Well, like I say, that machine, whether you kept it
$160,000.
1 or 2 years, it's still worth $150. I mean, that's just what it's gonna be worth. But again, we're off track, we can have another conversation on that. We need to stay on this one. Do we want to do the bridge or not, the core?
Well, how long is the payment on the current pit installment for the rent on that? How long is that in effect, till the end of November?
I think it's coming up, I think the 10th. You got the bills are up here, right? Are they? Yeah.
Said you just paid it.
I just paid it, but yeah, the rent's, occurring right now, but I think it's the 10th, Pete, so tomorrow we'll start again.
Friday, actually.
Are these proposed here, or are these the ones that you've already done?
No, that's all stuff that we need to look at. I mean, like I said before, I can't do all that in a year,
No, this is what you had intentions of keeping the machine for.
Exactly.
I don't have any problem, really, as long as we got answers for people why it's sitting around, That's the problem that the board members have is,
I got no problem with the answers I gotta give. Economically, it makes sense.
yeah, I know that.
But there are a group of them out there gonna want a little bit more than just economically, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Need to shove it.
Because I'm all in favor of buying it. 'Cause we can't, I know we can't be contracting this work out. I don't think it's gonna cost a lot more money than that.
I agree with you on that.
He must have signed it.
Those bridges.
I haven't signed anything yet.
Oh,
If I look at some of the pictures, those bridges are gonna have to be done.
There's a lot that has to be done. I mean, just add that up.
Yeah,
Does that sheet include the transportation costs as well, the 1,000 for that?
but no, it's not.
I think I didn't, no, I didn't put anything in for transportation.
So, you know, you can add $1,000 to each time you move that sucker.
You know, if you guys wanna keep busy and get going, we can buy it, let's buy it and
But I think what Scott's
Well, I
point
need
is,
some more, you know, to
Well,
me,
he also talked about he would give you a newer
different machine, and
one,
that's, there's a lot of.
so that, you know, you get some lower hours, you keep the same
I actually
thing.
drove to Batavia just the other night to look at one. And it's almost identical to the one we have, but it's got more hours. He thought it had like 700 on it, it's got 1,250. It's a. it doesn't-
How many does this one have on it?
Probably like 1150. I don't know where it is. So I haven't turned it in yet, I still have a few to turn. Yeah.
I'm not worried about having a full board, I don't think, I think we could make that decision.
No, I don't.
well, maybe we just gotta make a decision before the darn board. You know, people aren't gonna show up, you can't help that.
No.
Sometimes you gotta, you know, crap and get off
Yeah.
the pot.
I would rather leave it as
We've
tonight.
talked about this long enough, I think.
Yeah,
If it's a pot, you know, if you guys wanna move forward, then let me nail him down. And then I wanna get some other,
Can
I
you
wanna
have
get
that-
another bid from somebody else.
Can you have that for us a week from Tuesday?
Yeah.
Let's figure on getting that done a week from Tuesday.
At least put the discussion on there so that we can discuss it, look at the numbers and
yep.
know exactly, because we've got the thing from Lions there that shows it in good faith what it's worth. How much money do we already have invested? This is what it's gonna cost out of our pocket, and this is our resale value in 1 year.
I know we have at least 26,000 invested. At least.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay.
It's gonna be $19,000 and just these projects here, just moving back and forth.
Just running it and moving it,
Yeah.
if we can get all the
That's
projects
just
done.
these projects.
Yeah.
It doesn't count the bridges and everything else we
Nope.
want to do.
There's more coming. It ain't gonna get any easier.
The nice part about it is here when you want to do something, you know what I mean? That's the, you know, it's like today, we had both machines, the little guys, both of them, all day running down there. You know, I mean, it just makes the job so much easier. We wouldn't even be done in the street tonight if we didn't have both machines going today. Because you got to take the machine, run around, move, I mean, you had both of them digging. I mean, it was, you know, if you want to do this kind of stuff, you got to have the stuff to do it with. It's, unfortunately, it costs money. So how about the testing? Is it something you guys want to do? Get
For one test, I'm in on that.
How long is it gonna take us to get the results back?
I don't think very long, it probably says in here, it's. I would
Well, we're not
imagine-
gonna get into this
Couple
till next
weeks,
year
or-
anyway, so we've got plenty of time.
So
Yeah,
let's put it on the agenda to vote and discuss in front of hopefully whoever's here in 2 weeks, is here in 2 weeks, and we'll put it on the agenda to discuss and vote on that, because like you say, it's not like something we gotta do tonight. But it should be something we should discuss as a full board, and whoever's here will be considered full board.
The agenda for, and the excavator be on the agenda, I think.
Well, it's on, I've got it on this one here, so it's not, it'll be put on the next one. Okay.
Good enough.
I sent out an email, everybody get it regarding FEMA?
yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
You got it? Okay.
Which one?
Went out this afternoon, a bunch of stuff.
That was the one that
This
was
is
on
the
the
sit,
top.
the sit down with FEMA. Greg Hodling
Oh, yeah.
sent a whole bunch of emails from FEMA and everything, told us what we're gonna need to do and all this other stuff. And I think that he wanted to sit down next week with him and Kurt, I think it was. Monday, obviously, I won't be here, so it's gonna be Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday.
I'll try to tell him tomorrow. Well,
Okay.
You'll see him too.
Pardon?
Greg, you'll see Greg tomorrow. Tell him, see-
Yeah, that's right, keep forgetting that.
Yeah, we have a meeting tomorrow with LMC, straighten out everything financially and so on and so forth.
There's some money that we can use,
For unfunding.
you know, we can fund transfer.
Yeah, that's sewer money.
Megan and I talked earlier today, or later today, I guess it was. She called because we have a couple, you know, budget modifications that are because of the employees, now that we've got them switched around in their correct funds. She did some math, and I think she said around $17,000 would have to come from water to go to general, because we had too many guys in general till we promoted.
I would like to see that done because I think that's the fairest way to get the budgets in order, get the money where it should have been. We just basically would move 17 from water to general,
We gotta justify that. I mean, it's gotta be
document.
documented.
Can we document that, you think, Megan, to satisfy?
I wouldn't be able to. I mean, what I came up with was that there's a budget modification that needs to be done in the general fund. We have money in payroll line items in the general fund to correct it. It's for the working foreman position, which we've all talked about. And there's an email, just a short one in the share folder. However, I know, there's been talk about, with Scott hiring more seasonal employees in the spring, probably the budget payroll line items won't support that then, so we would need additional budget modifications. If there's someplace else in the budget that can support that, but Scott has shared with me that these guys were working for water, but I would not have any of that documentation. Right now, our practice has been give and take, so it's not something the guys record.
We tried it once, it was tough.
So that's my take on that, is, and everybody's aware the budget modification needs to happen. Where the board decides to take it from is up to,
It's from water to general, right?
it's up to you guys.
It's just because we didn't
So
take
I
anything
think the
from
way that
those
Scott was
line
looking at it is if the 17,000 came from someplace other than the payroll line items that I came up with, that gives him enough funds with those payroll line items to hire his seasonal in the spring, right?
Mhm.
If we leave those ones alone and don't take the money from those line items.
I could say this, that water money, any surplus you have there, can be used for any account. The policy has always been that all funds will be balanced out, that we wouldn't rob from Peter to pay Paul. And I mean, we can do that, but if we're gonna, we can't just make exceptions here and there and say this is our policy, and have exceptions. So the only way it's gotta be justified somehow. If we're gonna tell people that money, the one fund can't be used for another fund, and that's our policy, for at least for the water, the other two funds, that's the law. We need to at least be able to justify why we moved that money.
I think we can justify it because.
Well, it's gotta be documented.
Right, we can document it. The guys were basically too many guys in the highway, and we didn't fill a position in time. It took a while to fill the position, and we weren't taking the money from water where it should have been coming from.
Yeah, but you gotta say, this is what they were doing in water in order to pay general.
And it's like I told Megan, I have a lot of hours in water this year. The highway guys have put in a lot.
Can you document any of them so that we can show where there would be a need for fund transfer?
Yeah, I can document it. All I do is go back through all the jobs. I don't keep track of it because it's impossible to try to, every time they come and go. We did it for a while.
I just don't wanna get into the bad habit of relying on one fund to pay another fund.
Or just leave it alone and don't
See what
hire any
happens at the end of
seasonals
the
in
year.
the spring. That's
Well,
all.
we're gonna
Or
have to-
find the money to do the seasonals in the spring. And just leave it alone.
Anyway, you can leave it alone now and wait until the end of the year starts drawing closer to see what
Yeah.
comes in.
She just wants
So
to.
we need to do the budget modification now. The line item's been in the red for a little bit, and we're not supposed to let that happen. So we need to correct it. I have, like I said, I have payroll line items we can take the money from now, but then potentially, because there's been talk about hiring seasonals, trying to hire them on sooner. So in all likelihood, Scott will come back to the board in the spring and say, we need to find money in another line item, or we need to wait on seasonals. It'll be one or the other.
So why don't we do the transfers the way we have it now? And then over the next month, work on some documentation, as long as we come up with some documentation, how to redistribute money out of the water back into the general to put them back into the funds that we've taken them from, see what I'm saying? Then we'll do that budget modification then. But if we need to do one up front to get it done and over with, to get them out of the red, then I say we make the transfers, but over the next month, department heads work on the reasons why to fill the void of, this is the reason why we're gonna do it, so it's documented, and then we can adjust it at that point. Do you see what, you follow what I'm saying?
Yep, that's fair, right?
I mean, when you
So-
think, I mean,
Say, it's
Do what we
just
have-
gotta be legit,
Yep.
that's all I'm saying.
and make sure it's something that can be supported. If not, when spring comes, there is gonna be no other things, but at this point, if we need to make the adjustments now, we'll make the adjustments with what it is, but over the next month, work on a legitimate reason why we're gonna do another transfer from fund to fund. That would be my vote.
I agree, so that's what I'll send over on the budget
Okay.
modifications tomorrow.
Does that sound reasonable?
All in agreement then, by this time next month, we'll have everything up and up.
Yep.
Okay.
And we'll be able to have support. Chipper, what's wrong with the chipper?
Clutch is out of it, and it's been down for 3 weeks, 6 weeks to get one.
Is that in order?
Yeah.
Okay. They happen. I just didn't know
So
that.
hopefully, yeah,
Bad time of the year to be out of service.
actually, yeah. Yeah, we missed it a couple times.
I noticed a lot of piles around the village of, obviously it's wind damage debris is what it is. I
We
sent
talked
off,
about- Scott and I talked last week about Maury Avenue.
yeah, okay.
Trying to get to it.
Just imagine, and now see.
I just happened to see them last night, or the last couple of nights when I've been out walking, and,
Now we're talking about, see, right now I have the 2 trucks are set up to go get leaves, I have 1 dump truck.
When you start those leaves.
As soon as they fall off the trees.
they're falling.
This is what you guys asked for a quote on a dump truck, so I
Yeah,
Okay.
just giving it to you.
just gonna bring that up.
I just got it, so. Maybe you can stick
Don't
on
choke
the
it.
folder.
Did you hear
The
that?
whole quotation's here if anybody wants to see it, but it's,
No.
you know, just. no-
Okay.
How much is, because I know that this is a year that we pay off the dump that we have.
Right.
So if we were to cycle a new dump truck into the mix, how would that look budgetary wise based on what we've been paying out of there for the current dump
Well, the
truck?
dump truck that we have right now costs, it was like the 150 range. We pay 30 a year for 5 years, so.
So there's still
If
30,
you did, yeah, there's right now in our budget this year, there'll be 30,000 that we've been paying an installment on. So, but the board really doesn't want to borrow money.
well, that, in my estimation, I don't know if that's really borrowing. I think that that's just refilling a debt service that's there to continue on. We're not making new debt. We technically are, but in the end, it's a budget line item that would be supportive of an additional purchase to continue the maintenance of the fleet. I mean, you gotta figure there's a line item every year for the loaders.
Right.
This is another budget line item for this. You see what I'm saying? That would be my thought process, is to put it in where that one is. So it's not that we're
It's not so
creating,
much a new one, as they say, it's just it's a continuation thing, so.
Right.
I mean, that would be how I would like to look at it as, is, I mean, because again, I mean, when you have these other things, loader, or excavator, you can use a bridge, there's just not gonna be that much surplus, so you're gonna eventually have to put some. So I don't think we're creating, although we are creating new debt, we're not creating new line items, we're gonna put this one in where that one is, hopefully. If it has to be adjusted up or down, probably up a little bit, or, that was what I would think.
Well, if you want to go that route, I need to find out, the problem with these trucks, it takes 6 months' time to get it. When you order one, it takes forever.
So when's the other one gonna be paid off?
It's paid.
It's paid off, so there's $30,000 sitting in the budget that's not gonna be used here?
No,
Or the-
no, we use that
pay that
30,000 in our
fine.
budget to pay for the truck this year, so.
But if we went forward, we could put it in next year's budget to say, I think that we need to do that. When you're looking at your budget by the 20th,
So
then
nothing's changing, you're just continuing on.
you're continuing on and you're paying for a truck that you
Well,
have to have
like you're saying, they'll probably go up with some.
a little bit, but maybe we can take a little bit of money and knock it down to keep it the same. Pay whatever, how much would we have to have up front to keep the payment the same so that
Check
the
around a
budget
little
line
bit, or
item
is
stays
it
the
just
same,
one
you see what I'm saying?
quote?
One quote, it's off the county bid, or it's Onondaga, I think, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
someplace. Yeah, Onondaga County,
County
so,
bid.
you know, it boils down to, you know, you could get the MAC quote, which I know is gonna be $5 or $6 grand more, which I'm not opposed to doing that. Because I don't really care where the trucks come from. I mean, there's some that I would like to stay away from, international has their
Well,
issues.
you know,
I'm not saying that this is the one that I would, I just had to get a quote for you guys.
Mhm.
you know.
Well, I think that, you see what I'm saying about how this gets paid for, that's the direction we wanna go, is to say, okay, let's get a legitimate idea of what it is, so that if it's gonna be 6 months out, if we make the purchase in January, that bill comes due when we're in the next budget year, we start making the payments.
I can do that.
And then that way we can move forward and, see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Sounds good.
So I will get a second quote like from MAC or somebody, just so we have it to compare it to.
And see what they have for financing and see where that would be for a yearly payment.
Because it was pretty cheap, but I don't know. I mean, our other one was very cheap. We had hardly any interest on that.
You mean for the loan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
1% or
This is a
whatever.
good move, this is a good start here. Mhm. Definitely,
Much as you don't want to, you need a new truck and you gotta pay for it.
oh yeah. And we need 10-wheeler.
Can you tell me how much we paid for the 10-wheeler that we've, if we were to use a 10-wheeler for the course of the year, how much would we use it? And what would that cost be? And my question is,
Well, just look what we're paying right now. Like, every brush we get for going, that's a couple grand every time, there's probably 10 grand right there that we pay out.
how many years would a truck like this last us?
Keep it out of
Well, we're
sight.
running right now those 92s, so what are they, 20?
Okay,
Years old.
okay. No, I thought, someone was gonna say, 15, 20 years, I was gonna say, 10 grand a year, you don't have any maintenance or the operator, but if it was only gonna last us 15 years, you're in the same ballpark, just continuing to hire out.
And I think, I don't know, because we've got so much work going on in this village and everything else, as far as maybe farming it out too, if you have a chance to, to county work and stuff, if you ever had a chance to, is that something you?
Well, I can tell you right now,
Could
I
possibly do it.
owe a couple of municipalities that helped us dearly here with blacktopping, West Sparta and Town of Nunde. So it would be awful nice to be able to go back and help them a few times, just to,
That would
even
help
score.
out getting a little money toward it too,
Well, they
Them
do.
would be paybacks just to kind of thanks for your help for that day.
Yeah.
right, they didn't charge us, but if you go work for the county, you get, I think it's $88 an hour, is what they pay you. I think that's
Somewhere's around 90 is what I heard.
90, okay,
Yeah.
well, whatever, 88, 90 bucks an
Well, we take care of this, and like you said the other day, keep the salt off it and stuff, and it lasts a long time. But you're gonna have an excavator, you're gonna need 10-wheeler,
hour. Well, our problem, like, we do sidewalks, it's a pain with our little trucks.
yeah.
I mean, if you go rip up 100 feet of sidewalk and throw them on our trucks, it's, 3 trips to the dump. You don't think anything about it, but while that truck's gone dumping, there's 3 guys sitting there waiting for it to come back.
Mhm.
And those trucks really aren't designed to throw concrete in. This is a haul truck, it's a ruggeder body, if you will. Ours have doors in the bottom that the salt comes out and everything. So, there's a big difference.
Okay.
So you get one from Mac and whatever,
Yeah, I gotta get at least one more.
yeah.
I don't have to, we can buy right off that bid, it's all legal.
So that's definitely a county bid then.
That's a county bid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only way you can buy these is a county bid, right?
No, you can bid them out on your own.
Yeah.
You
If
can?
you want,
Yep.
yeah.
Some cases you can get better prices if you bid them out. But you're okay to just go with the single bid on a county bid. If it's faster or whatever. Sometimes it takes a while to get bids in. You're looking, what, about a month?
It's a lot of work too,
Mhm.
for all of us.
To
I don't think you're gonna save a whole lot on a truck like that, they're pretty
Mm.
much, that's what they
You know, if you look at the one the town just bought, it's pretty much the same price,
Yeah.
same truck pretty much.
I think get another bid in there or whatever, and I'd like to see the board approve it if you could, you know.
As long as the timing's right, so that it catches in the next budget year.
I would anyways, because it wouldn't be here until the next budget cycle.
And then we just gotta know what that price is for doing the budget, so we know what the
Oh,
budget line
absolutely,
is,
you
right?
guys know it all, interest and all that, so I'll get all that.
Okay.
Sounds good, Scott.
Megan, you want to talk about the Bassett Estate issue there, the Boylan law firm?
I know just a little bit
Yeah.
about it.
You put a copy of that in the file there?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. I forget the address. There's a property
Canal Street there.
that's
Yep.
in the township.
Yep.
I guess the lady passed away at some point, but obviously our office would continue to send bills, and had not received any communication from the bank or relatives or anything like that, from what I understand from talking with Karen. And now an attorney called yesterday and spoke with Karen saying, you know, that they want adjustments made and the late fees waived and all of that stuff. He called back and talked with me, but I basically left it at, my understanding is that you've already had a conversation with our water and sewer billing clerk, so you and I don't, you know, we don't need to have that conversation. You know, if you have a request, here's how it works, put it in writing, you can email it to me and I'll give it to the board. I gave him a heads up that if he's asking for any money to be waived, that it's in law, that the board can't do that, whether it's just normal charges or late fees. But then I said to him, you know, again, I don't know your situation, but I just, out of kindness, I was just letting him know that. So he sent it off and, yeah, and it's in the share folder now, but that's the basic gist of it.
I guess they should have done their due
And it
diligence.
was it's a water.
There we go. Yeah, no.
It's just water.
Yeah, no.
It's 9474 Canal Street
Yeah.
is what it is.
The house with all the field rock on it.
I don't know.
Know that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
Couple nice barns out back.
Yeah.
Where?
Down at Canal Street,
Down in Cumminsville.
Cummingsville.
Oh, down there, I
Yeah.
was thinking down here, Battle Street. No.
And I think, and it is a bank that took it back over, right? It's not-
Canada
I believe, yeah.
National,
Mhm.
so the CNS.
Because the board can make adjustments, but only if it can be proved that it will create a hardship for somebody, for an individual.
Yeah, it's not creating a hardship for the bank.
So just to throw that out there for future reference.
Well, it was what, only 1,000 plus, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was around 1,000.
Yeah, so I don't see how that's a hardship for a bank.
Yeah, if there's a vote of no. I mean, we can't help it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But we do accept a credit card if they want.
Okay.
Do we have any, do we have a list of all residents that, all buildings that have the water shut off? I know that they can go through a process. Is there a list of how many are shut off right now? Not shut off for failure of payment, but like how many dwellings we have that just don't have a bill going to them for whatever reason? Do we
Should
keep
have.
a,
There's not a master list, but there is a folder that the hard copy of each one, so like ones that are abated.
yeah.
Yep, there's a folder.
Do you know how many
we
approximately are in
have.
there?
10?
Yeah, there's been a lot.
And are all those properties dilapidated or I just know there's been some that have been remodeled and stuff, and have they been put back on because they're well livable? You know, I mean,
If you deconvert and go, that would, some people have abated until they've done that. They had no intentions of renting them, that they were gonna deconvert it and make it a single family again, or fewer apartments anyway.
or you could have a building that basically becomes uninhabitable. And then someone else takes it over and they remodel it. now the building is technically inhabitable, do they go right back on the list, or how does it, what puts it back on the list?
It's up to the homeowner to notify the village. However, if they fail to do so, we also rely on Tammy and Charlie. As they find out things, they come and tell us. So we try to keep on top of it. If there's an apartment that's been vacant and say they were in it, they will come and tell us as soon as they know. So
So there's a list of
it
about
seems to
10?
be a good system for Karen.
So if I stopped in, I could say, hey, where's that?
She would just pull out the folder and you
Okay.
can look through it. Yep.
Okay, perfect. And any progress on Doug Koval? I know we're on water and sewer now, any
Yeah.
progress on his?
Yeah.
Asked them the other day about
Yeah,
that.
he's moving forward, yes, he's gonna get his license. I know he has signed up for he's doing the online course right now. And he wants to get his license, I mean,
Okay.
he's gonna go through.
I just know that when we were talking about the
Very
other
positive last
positions, I'm
time
like,
I-
how's this one?
Yeah, very positive last time I talked to him.
Any estimated time of
He
completion?
hopes by, late spring.
Okay, perfect.
Is what he's hoping for, to take the test. I did find that feed in here
What's that?
on the excavator, it's the
No.
second,
Oh, okay.
so we were already into it. And I'll give this to you because she made a mistake, and that's why I couldn't find it.
I haven't
Basically,
been through them yet.
She doubled, see the both the
Okay.
same,
Yep.
but that one's for the excavator 65, now this one's okay. She did both exactly the same, C4s.
It's the same voucher.
Yeah.
That's all. It's the exact same voucher.
But this one's
so-
okay, this one's good.
Right.
I can throw that back in, that one just needs to be corrected. It'll be good.
Okay. Anybody else got any questions of Scott? Sir, Bob is working on the cybersecurity up at the water plant.
He's also working on that PLC that we approved a while back,
Uh-huh.
so the plant's been down for a couple days.
Okay.
And I had a couple issues tonight late, but I didn't get a chance to go up, but hopefully they've got them going.
Okay.
Now I know he's there with it, he hasn't called, so
We were talking about Paul Bring-A-Lot, was it yesterday?
today.
Today, okay.
Just a matter, I guess now we bring him back, kind of waiting for this audit to get out of the way. I didn't want to overwhelm Megan with it. 'Cause
Yeah.
when he comes, he's demanding,
Yeah.
which is, you know,
No, I've heard them bring a watts, but it's been a while. Who's he again?
That's the guy that does our, reviews our water and sewer rates.
Oh, yeah, then we don't want to see him. I'm good with him. Don't bring a watts in.
I don't think there's anything else for water and sewer, streets. I think we've discussed everything to some degree. Go moving on to Parks and Rec. Just on November 14th, that's next Tuesday, I'll be meeting with my committee on the walking tour of the village. And we need to come up with a plan so we can submit it to try to get some grants out of that. They're usually a shared grant, you know, you gotta pay up a certain percentage, but see where that goes. And then moving along to technology. We got, as a matter of fact, today, a update on our page, on our computer website. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know some mistakes in it already, but not their fault, our fault, not maintaining the old one very well. It still has Dave Worth as a village justice.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, but otherwise, it's looking pretty good.
Poor Scott.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm sure Scott is on there.
he's on there, but they've also got Dave on there
The website,
still.
there's so many places
Yeah,
that you have to update it in every section. Where the new website, once you update one section, it'll update all of them.
mhm.
It's just the old website. It's not a good process unless she has Dave on there for
And she wanted,
town.
yeah.
Does she have him listed as village or does she have him listed as town?
Ah,
I think his
Yeah,
Dave's
so-
still town.
I know
So
he's
they-
town, but
You know, so they may have had some confusion by that
Yeah.
as well, because we would have him on there for town too, because we get so many court questions that
Yeah.
we would list all of them, like we do in the office. But it is really nice, And I can forward the link to everyone if you guys want to see it, play around with what's on it so far.
Yeah.
The one question, she wants to talk with the three of us here at some point here in the near future. And I'm trying to remember, was it next week?
I don't know.
I have to look at it again, I'll talk about it tomorrow, but there are a few questions I had, it's nothing major, but just got the same photo on each page. I think we need to change that up a little bit. When you look at the police department, there ought to be police on it. When we look at DPW, there ought to be DPW people on it.
We had talked about that, we just have to send them photos.
Yep.
I think that's a really good idea.
And the parks ought to have parks and stuff along that line, so. But otherwise, it's, the way it's laid out, I think is real nice. Certainly looks a heck of a lot
Yeah.
better than what we've had.
Turn her on and play with it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see, what else we got? Codification's moving along. And GIS work is moving along. If you haven't noticed, over on the east side, there were a lot of marks around the, you know, the DIs
I
and the
noticed the green around all of the
manholes.
manholes.
Yep.
So you have to pay
And-
attention.
So the guy was out there yesterday, I guess probably the day before, sticking his little rod in each of the items and zipping it into the GPS system. So, getting down pretty good.
The
Is
back,
Is that
back,
for the smoke test? Okay,
That's a
before
whole-
they do that, will we put that out to folks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Before
people
they
just
do
smoking their
it,
houses
so that
out.
we're not getting calls, right, okay.
Yeah, that'll be a nice.
And
Has
your
there been any
calls.
sewer issues or clogs down by my house lately?
No. No, why you got an issue at your house?
I don't know.
It's not going down fast, you might want to check it before it...
Smith's bag?
Yep.
Well, I just noticed that it wasn't really flushing the greatest, and then my neighbor was putting in a bunch of plumbing work, and I thought, wonder if something's going on. Remember when I was at the Red Cross, we used to have to call because Wong's would come out the back and right there, and they'd have to come down about, I don't know,
Yeah, the
every 6
grease.
months and just pipe the grease on out of there. So whenever it started getting slugged, like, yeah, you put too much in.
Unless somebody's got something more, that's all I've got. Got enough.
Motion to close.
Got a motion from trustee Rittenhouse,
I'll second it.
and that's at about 8:20. Rittenhouse, Nagel. All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned.
Trying to think of the best answer to give people on Elizabeth
For
Street.
the paving?
Yeah.
Because they're gonna put in drainage.
Then we're gonna drain it and repave it
That's
next
the
spring.
answer I've been giving everybody.
That's what I put in the paper.
That's just a patch, and everybody don't read the paper.
Just tell them
I know
that's
it.
Pete's patch.
Paper.
That's Pete's patch. That's all I thought.
Yeah.
I didn't feel it. I said, why put a whole lot of money into that and they gotta tear it all up next year and put the sewer line in?
I told Chamber of Commerce, everybody talking to me, that's what I told them. So you